Hi, I'm Kevin Hatley and welcome to Kevin Hatley Photography in my office. This is a channel that I've set up to share my experiences of wildlife and nature with others. So let's go. If you're a beginner to wildlife photography, or you haven't photographed the subject of today's video, how to photograph squirrels, before, there's no better subject in my opinion to improve your approach to photographing wildlife. Here in the UK we have two main species of squirrels. We have the Eurasian red and the American grey squirrel. The likelihood is that you're more likely to encounter the American grey squirrel, here from now known just as simply as grey, and the Eurasian red known as red. So what I want to do in this video is share with you my knowledge and my experience of photographing squirrels. So what we'll do is we'll look at the identification, we'll look at the habitat and where you can find them, we'll look at some of the behaviour and lifestyle, and then I'll share with you my approach to photographing squirrels. And I'll share some top tips with you along the way. Okay, what I want to do now is just briefly have a look at the identification. You shouldn't really rely just purely on colour alone, as both the squirrels can vary within their own species as to their colourisations. But in general speaking terms, greys are larger than reds. Reds are well known for having tufts on their ears, and especially so during the winter. Greys have rounded ears and they never have tufts. Another key feature to identifying the different species is the tail. And the grey tails tend to be banded and have white tips, which can give off a bit of a halo effect, and that's important when we look at photographing the grey squirrel. The red tails tend to be of a uniform colour and they don't have a white halo to them. Estimates as to the numbers of each species within the UK are put at roughly about 140,000 reds and the grey at over 2 million. And you can see with those kind of numbers for the greys how much they have pushed the reds out of our towns and cities, and we'll look at that habitat in a minute or two. Tip number five. Tip number five has got everything to do with autumn. It's actually now late September 2023. We're in autumn. It's at the beginning of autumn, but autumn and winter are the best times of years to photograph squirrels. They go through a change in the coats, and certainly the red squirrel is a very dynamic colour range in the autumn, that time of year. It's the time of year when the squirrels are at their most active. They're doing a lot of foraging on the ground, looking for nuts to store in preparation for the forthcoming winter. So where are we going to find squirrels? The greys can be found all throughout the United Kingdom due to the introduction of the grey, which, as I said previously, far outnumbers the reds. Reds tend to be found more in localised areas. Areas to take note of are Brownsea Island on the Isle of Wight, Formby in Lancashire, Snaysholme in North Yorkshire, Anglesey in Wales. Scotland has strong populations, and there are a population of reds in Northern Ireland. Reds are found mainly in coniferous woodland and coniferous plantations, and they can also be found in deciduous woodland. Greys are mainly found in parks and gardens, deciduous woods, and in our towns and cities. Okay, squirrels' diet, what do they eat? Squirrels are diurnal, which means that they're more active first thing in the morning and last thing at night, foraging for food. They forage on the ground, mainly for brief spells during the day, particularly in the autumn when they collect nuts to store for winter. The red's diet consists mainly of things like nuts, pine cones, seeds, flowers, berries and fungi. Greys, similar to the reds, but in addition greys will also take young nestlings and eggs if they can get access to them during the bird breeding season. And both reds and greys will feed from bird feeders. Tip number 4 on how to photograph squirrels is to do with feeding sites. Reds are not as easily accessible as greys are due to the numbers and the distribution. So it's certainly worthwhile considering visiting a feeder site. The most productive way of getting close to squirrels is by providing a food source. It's as simple as that. There are a number of public and commercial sites where you can get close to red squirrels. Namely in North Yorkshire at Snaysholm there is a public site, and again you just Google it and you'll get it on the internet. And there is a private hide at Hawes, again in North Yorkshire. Formby in Lancashire is a public site, and in Scotland there are a mixture of both commercial and public sites. In Dumfries, in the Trossachs, Argati, Red Kite feeding station also has a red squirrel hide, and that's really a good worthwhile visit, and obviously up in the Highlands of Scotland as well. Tip number 3 in how to photograph squirrels is everything to do with the lens, or the choice of the lens for photographing them. Squirrels are, by their nature, as we've seen, are very fast little creatures. 1 second they're there in front of you, the next they've disappeared, and they move very quickly. They can be near, they can be far, and that's why a zoom lens, and I would recommend minimum 300 to 500mm lens, although even a 70 to 200mm lens at some of the commercial hides, the red squirrels especially will come really close. So 300 to 500, but a 70 to 200 if you're going into a hide. What I want to do now is just to take a 1 minute time out from the video to introduce you to a new 3-part project, or a new project that I'm going to be working on this autumn and winter, and it's all to do with trail camera photography. They're great aids to help you both improve your wildlife photography, but also they're great at helping you to get closer to them. And in one of my previous videos I did on recce, I said that I use these to give me an indication of where the wildlife are. What will be, it will be in 3 parts to begin with: a beginner's guide, we'll look at an equipment guide, and then how to set a trail camera up. So let's look forward to trail camera photography coming this autumn and this winter. And now back to the video. Okay, what I want to do now is look at my approach to photographing squirrels. As we've seen, a squirrel's environment is often in enclosed wooded areas, and light at times can be a real issue and a real problem. Squirrels, by their nature, are very fast at times as they move across the ground foraging for food and moving on trees. So you need to ensure that you set your settings to as high a frame rate as you're comfortable with. So what we'll do is we'll look at 3 typical shots I believe that you need for photographing squirrels. We'll look at taking a static shot, a shot of a squirrel feeding and drinking, and then a shot of a squirrel jumping. As I said, autumn and winter offers some of the best light conditions for photographing squirrels, especially capturing light on their tails, and that gives them that halo effect, and it makes them stand out from their surroundings. Consider using spot metering or underexposing the image to get the effect that you're after. Remember to consider the time of day as well, and look at the light that's available, ideally early morning and late afternoon, to catch a low sun during the autumn and winter are the best times to photograph squirrels. As I stated earlier, our settings all depend on the amount of light that's available and the environment that we're photographing the squirrels in. But I would recommend that the minimum fast shutter speed that you should be looking for especially for a static shot, is 1/250th of a second. So 1/250th of a second for a static shot, wide open on my Canon RF 100-500, that's f7.1, and I set it at ISO, so that's for a static shot. When squirrels are eating and drinking and moving about, up and down, side to side, so what you need to do is just raise your shutter speed slightly, and I'd raise it up to about 1/500th of a second. Again, you're looking at an aperture of about f7.1, and I always shoot in auto ISO. Again, we've seen just how quick squirrels are moving across the ground and moving up trees, etc. So again, you're looking to here where squirrels are moving around on the ground and moving up and down trees, raising your shutter speed up to about 1/1000th of a second. And this time I would close my aperture slightly down to about f8, just to give me that little bit more depth of field, and again shooting on auto ISO. Okay, squirrels jumping. Squirrels are very good at jumping, as you're about to see, and they can reach distances of up to about 5 foot in height and 10 foot across, and they also do it in style, as you're about to see. Minimum shutter speed, you're looking here at 1/1600th of a second, aperture again of f8, and auto ISO for squirrels jumping. Tip number 1 for how to photograph squirrels is got everything to do with your background. Due to the habitat that the squirrels live in and the environment they live in wooded areas, it can be difficult to get good clear backgrounds for your images. So you're looking for open areas and the edges of woodland rather than in thick wooded areas. Try to get as much separation between your subject and the background to get a good, clean, diffused area. In this simple diagram, the real basics of trying to get a good background is to make sure that the distance between you, the photographer, and your subject, the squirrel, that the distance between the squirrel to the background is twice that of the distance between you, the photographer, and the squirrel. That's the minimum, and that should help you to get a good blurred out foreground and background, and a wide aperture also helps to do that. As I said at the beginning of this video, if you're new to wildlife photography, there's no better subject to do a project on and photograph than squirrels. They're approachable and they're cute. They do crazy things, they do funny things. They're just a great subject to improve your wildlife photography, I believe, and they're a joy to watch, and more importantly to photograph. So what I'll do now is I'll just leave you with some of my favourite images of squirrels, and I hope that you enjoy them. Thanks for watching this edition of Kevin Hatley Photography and How to Photograph Squirrels. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have filming these cute little animals. They really are a joy to photograph, and they're a great learning experience, as I keep saying, if you're a beginner to wildlife photography. All I would ask is that if you've liked it, could you hit the like button? Could I also ask you to think about subscribing to my channel, Kevin Hatley Photography. It's completely free, it doesn't cost anything, and all it does is it helps me to improve my approach to photographing not just squirrels but wildlife in general. I'm always learning, and hopefully I can share that knowledge and experience with other people. So until the next time, stay safe, take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.